Clearing now, Captain. Definitely Federation starship. Accessing registry.
Looks like they had a rough ride.
NCC 1701 C. USS Enterprise.
Okay, hey, let's welcome back to the Sloppy Modeler. This is update number 2 of the USS Enterprise, USS or NCC 1701C, and I just want to show you, since we left on the last video, where we're at right now, and some of the progress that I made over here after getting all of these windows drilled, and we'll talk about real quick how we're gonna move ahead. So right now I have wired up the lower saucer section, and what I did with that, basically I ran 5 light strips, 7, 7, 7, 4 and 4, and then 3 and 3 in the center, and that gives me enough light. I also have the nav lights are in, and the white light in front is in, along with the 4 lights I was going to put across the back, the green ones here. And so when you put the bridge on, or the bridge piece on, let's see if we can get this here on here quickly or not. I only have 1 locator pin because I took the rest of those off, but it goes pretty quick. So essentially what you've got here across the bottom, again the white in the front, red and green, these 2 reds here and the green here. I think that looks really nice. This lights up really fantastic. And then the top, same thing. You've got your red and green and the white in front. I have to do some more light blocking on a couple of those pieces there. I tried painting over the bulb, and that seems to have helped actually. We've made some progress on the green side and on the red. We just have to do a little more to it. On the bottom, it's not too bad at all. As soon as we close all of this hull up with glue and epoxy, and then come to it. So what I'm not super thrilled about, and I have to decide, there's not a ton of light in the daylight that comes through these lights. You have to really get even with it to see that there's light coming out of that. So what I might do, this looks nice in the back. What I might do is put 1 bulb up through the center of that, and be done. So I do have to wire in the nav light. I haven't done that. There's 1 blinking, not nav light, anti-collision light that's going to go into that. So, and like I said, there's only 1 light circuit coming off of that at the moment, and then there'll be 1 more. So 2 easy circuits coming in from the hull into the neck. So very thrilled with that. That has come along really fantastically. On the nacelles, we'll talk about that here. And let's just see if we can't get both of these lit up. Haven't worked with that yet. So one way I just strip a wire real quick, especially this magnet wire, is just shoot it with a shot of heat. And that tends to strip that coating off real quick. And then my reds go together here for the nacelle. And for those of you watching, this is how Indiana farm boys wire things. It's stripped sometimes with your teeth, twist it together, and then add juice. So typically not to code, but that is farm life. And of course we're always surprised when things work. Always surprised. So like right now, my 1 nav is not working. Oh, there it is. Oh, we're not quite making connection. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so what I've got here is I've laid in a strip 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in there. That is the entire length of the nacelle, and I think that's enough light to go all the way around that. And then this green will glue up into there, giving me a nice green nav light. Boy, that's really going to be nice. And then the red Bassard collector is going to light up, hopefully, the Bassard collector. And so what I wanted was this to be white when it was white and red when it gets red. And I think if I diffuse that enough, let's see here, oh, there we go, that strips in like that, maybe like this. Oh, those are side specific. So there's where AMT starts to get, that's where AMT gets engineering involved. So how interesting. All right. So what AMT has done here is they've moved this Bassard collector. There's a little groove here. They've moved it one to the left, one to the right, so that you don't get that confused. And it sits in there. So I had the wrong one. That fits like a glove, maybe. Right there in it. And then this is going to sit in here in the glow. And then my white anti-collision will go there. So we're making progress. There it is, kind of mocked up. Looks like there's going to be a lot of light in there. I want to be careful not to block, or I want to be careful not to have these wires show through on the chiller grills. These wires here showed through pretty badly on my runabout, so I want to make sure I get those like all the way to the top and forward, and try to keep them out of the way. Same thing with the back here. I've got enough light, I can take that all the way to the back and then curl it around and glue it in place. But from a perspective there, and I do have the Bassard collector, chiller grill is getting dry. Guess it's dry already. Let's just take one here and try it out. There's one. There's two. And I've got the Tuesday night races going here in Holland, apparently, as some guys are deciding to open up their. There's a couple of BMWs that race around here, so they're making that work for them. All right, so let's see what happens putting this in place. And I do like these much better than the ones on the runabout because they actually have locator pins that look like they work. Heavens to Betsy. There, and there. I think I can get there. Let's try a different side. Oh yeah, that fits much better. All the way around. Popped in. And then this side here. Same thing. Let's see if we can't get that to fit in place. Definitely fiddly bits. Look at that. Alright. And then and again, I'm mocking this up for the very first time as I'm seeing it, you're seeing it, so that's kind of the challenge. And we'll put these lights down, hopefully. Yeah, see this one on this side not fitting well for some reason. Not fitting well. Maybe that's got it. And then light on top. Boy, I can see that's going to be a challenge, but to get all that glued in tight and keep it tight and keep everything close to where you want it to be. Like for instance, I've got a pretty deep groove in there that's a gap, so really going to have to glue that up nicely. But I use a little bit darker blue. I use blue metallic on that. I don't like the seam, but there's not a lot you can do about it. and the rest of this looks pretty good. I'm going to be okay with that when that is diffused. Okay with that Bussard collector when it's diffused, and I think that that looks dynamite, frankly. And then I'm going to put over the top of this, I'm going to put styrene over the top of these so it diffuses those 7 hot spots. All right, so that is the update for first half of update number 2. I know first half of the first update was incredibly long, but all that drilling was an incredibly long process. And this is kind of what happens when I put all the electronics out and try to do all of that work with the soldering iron and although my joints are much better, I'm much more pleased with the way that's come together, and we will make progress. All right, I'll be back with you on the second half of update number 2. For now, we will be back with you soon. Thanks for watching. Sports fans, hey, welcome to the Sloppy Modeler. Working on update number 2, and actually working on trying to get my clamps out of the way here. All right, so working on Bussard collectors, working on the nacelles is step next, and just trying to see where we're going to end up here with the lighting on the nacelles. If we can get it lit. Yeah, close enough. All right. So, first of all, I reversed myself. This kit has the nav light on the top, along with the anti-collision light on the top. And I don't know why that's not staying low, because they're not connected, I guess. There you go, a little bit. All right. So instead of gluing that stuff down to the bottom of the nacelle, I pulled that off and then glued it to the top. So I've got my light strip in here glued to the top. I've got my red nav. I've got my red nav here, and I've got my white blinky down down there, which has been light blocked. You can see I put a lot of tulip in there, or my 3D fabric paint. This is from Scribblers. So that is the deal. So you can see that I've got my hot spots in here, and following some online advice, I'm going to try the fiberfill here and see if that provides enough diffusion for all of that without giving me a huge problem. Then I used my modeler's clay, and I've set in my Bussard collector red right into the center of that, and let's get this almost there. We're almost there. I've glued in the the 2 chiller grills. So by squeezing these together and down, I have a working, somewhat working, come on now, what's going on here? There we go. I have a working warp nacelle. So I'm actually kind of pleased with how that's going to turn out. There we go. Here's the problem. Not much better. That's the beauty of doing this live on camera. And doing it sloppy style. Alright, there we go. So, come on. Oh, must be this one here. In person, I have a nice glow. I got a light leak there on the top that I need to figure out, but that's got a nice glow. I've got my red here, virtually in the center of that, ready for my Bussard cover to go on. Now I still need to dull coat that inside, sand it and dull coat that inside, but that is going to go slide into place in the front, and by pushing this down I virtually eliminate the light leak on this side. I've got a really nice Bussard chiller grill here, and a nice chiller grill there. So I will continue on with this and get this. Actually, I'm just about ready to seal this up now that I've got that in place. And once that's sealed up, then we can go. So it does give me my light around the back. It's not quite bright enough towards the back here, and I think if I did it over again I would do one more bulb back, but I was worried about going over the top of that white bulb there for the anti-collision light. But the nav light looks good, the chiller grills look good, and that closes up pretty sharp on that side. This side needs some work, I think, on a couple of pieces. The other thing that I did, and this is always a challenge with these Star Trek warp nacelles, it's a pain in the backside to paint these. Once you've got all this stuff in, you have to tape it off and to paint it. So I pre-painted that with the light hull color, the light gray around there and around that side. And you can see this one's been done the same way. I'm now ready to lay in my modeler's clay, which is this right here, for the front and the side, and then glue in my chiller grills here and here, and then start putting that one together next. So that is next up under the update for the NCC 1701C, the Enterprise C from AMT Round 2. So I'm having a lot of fun. Things are moving along. The nacelles are probably 80% done, and then once those are zipped up, I can fix these seams and then paint, start the paint scheme on that. I did get a little blue on our paint scheme. I was doing some test patterns here, and there's my paint colors. So I think I'm going to use this bright blue instead of the medium blue. I think that's not bright enough. So I've moved from this medium blue for the big bright blue section in the top of the hull to sky blue, XF14. It's a much brighter blue, and I think that's going to work better for that. And I think it already looks dynamite just where I got some onto these ridges, because what I'm going to do next is I'll paint that ridge all the way around there, across the top, and then these ridges here, and then tape them off. And then actually I don't have to tape them off. I might. We'll see, because this gets the decals from the PMT aftermarket decals. Those go in there next. So making progress. Thanks for tuning in. This is coming along swimmingly, and I will keep you updated on the next steps after we get the bottom of these put in place and get some light blocking done. Stay tuned. Hey, welcome back to update number 2, moving forward on the nacelles and the rear pylons. And I want to show you guys at home what I did in order to run this wiring. So obviously I had, just like on the other nacelle, which is being glued up, I've got 2 sets of wires coming out, one for the Bussard collector, the chiller grill, and the front nav light, and then one for the strobe. And so what I did is clamped these 2 pieces together here, and then drilled with my drill right down through there to make sure I had enough access room for that to come out. And this is going to be hidden underneath underneath both sections here, so it's going to be hidden under there and over the top, so this won't be shown. but that wire now has the ability to come in here into the hull and then wired up into the circuits that are there. So again, when I put this together, what I did is I clamped it really tight with my Irwin clamp here, and these are absolutely dynamite. I use them all the time. So I clamped it really tight, and once it was clamped tight, I ran my drill right down through that, and that gave me enough room in there. And I did that kind of the same thing on the other corners here, where it's going into the the uprights on the pylon. So once I did that, I had an area or a spot, and it's got tape over it now, kind of holding it. I'll glue it later on when I'm ready to, after I get some paint on the pylons. But what I did is just tape those wires in tight, and then ran them around through this section here, and there is enough room, and then taped down again on these wires that are coming out of the front. So when you're doing this, the way I'm going to do that is you can actually put this piece in, and then when you're ready to have the other two wires in and got kind of everything taped or glued together, that'll be the other nacelle under here. You can come back in here and basically just sandwich this now, and then this fits into the nacelle with that sandwich. That closes up with locator pins in there, and now that side, it doesn't have a gap, a terrible gap that's running up through here through this seam. I was going to have to fill that anyways, but excuse me, but that seam is going to be tight, and it's going to be easy to fill, sand, and then paint these inlets here with black or blue. Might do electric blue in there. I think that would look cool. Same thing on the front, and then you've already got your wires set up that you can run those, and you can see those wires that are there. You can run those right into the hull, and then the other nacelle will mirror that with those two running in. So that is a way to get that nacelle and the pylons wired. I did spend a little bit of time in the last update talking about the fact that this is two-piece, and I'm never going to complain about that again, because that was the only way that I didn't have to trench something out to do that, like I'm going to have to do when I do my Clear D. And I'm just kind of frankly dreading all of that trench work, but we'll get it figured out. So that is the nacelle. I don't know if I can power this up to show it on the side here or not. Let's see if we've got a little bit of juice coming in. There's the negative and the positive. Okay, so that nacelle lights up nice. Oh, lost my spot here. There we go. It lights up nice. It's got the fiber fill in there. It is sufficient. Boy, by no means perfect, but gluing these up, and honestly, I hate gluing up Star Trek nacelles with the clear parts, because mine never turn out well. I do think this is going to look nice. I've put another coat of frost on here, so I'm waiting for that to dry up, but I think that's going to look nice. Here's a combination of the front red and the red. Of course, it's got a hot spot at the moment, but I think what I'm going to do is use some cotton ball. I'll cover that up. That'll give enough red in there. It'll make it look frosted on the inside and still light up when you're there. So, making progress on the NCC 1701C and the wiring and how all that is going to come together. Like I said, the other nacelle is being glued up right now, and then when that's finished gluing up, I'll tape off the nacelle clear part. I'll tape off the, or probably use some kind of, I'll use some kind of masking, my liquid mask, to drop into there to mask over those two little dots of red. And once that's done, then I can go ahead and start the painting and getting this color scheme started on the outside. But I got to prime the outside and do some other pieces of that. So that is the NCC 1701C nacelle and pylon arrangement with wiring, and I appreciate the time spent watching my video. We'll continue to move this forward, and I will be back with you shortly. Thank you. Okay, so fast approaching progress, and at the same time having a little bit of a setback, as per usual for the USS Enterprise C 1701-C. All right, so working through what I've accomplished. The nacelles are both closed up, and this one had a bit of a gap in it, so I've got some Mr. Hobby's putty in there, white putty in there, and I'll get that sanded up. It's been taped. The front's been taped off, and the nacelles are taped off, so the next step is to get that sanded and then go get a coat of primer on the nacelle. So good progress with that. On the hull and secondary hull, these are just fitted together temporarily, but I wanted to see how that looked. And I'm actually kind of pleased. That's going to be a nice seam in there for all intents and purposes. And so that looks good. However, what doesn't look good and what I need to change out is these lights that I have in here for the nav lights and the white light in front. The ones in back are going to be fine, but what happens is, or what has happened is that these lights are too thick, and trying to come down over the top of that hull, it just pushes them out too far, especially like these ones in the front. In addition to that, the other challenge that I'm having is the fact that light blocking around them is going to be a nightmare, because what happens is the green one sheds green light around the top, the white sheds more white through there and definitely through the front, and the same with the red here on this side. It shoots light out through the windows and out through the side windows. So I have embarked on a solution, and I think I have one. And so what I've done is I had these come in over the weekend, and this is an SMD, surface mounted diode. It's kind of like this on a really super small scale, and they are super tiny. So let's pull this and this, and let's put a resistor on the end of this so we don't blow it. And I'll show you what my plan is. It will take a little bit of time, but I think it's time well worth spending, because otherwise it's going to cause some pretty difficult hardships. So these SMDs, you've got two wires coming off of them. The silver wire is the negative, and so plug into the negative, and then the other wire is the positive, and of course that just kind of makes sense. So there's our light coming up. Come on. There's our green light. So that is now small enough, you can see the huge difference in size, that it's going to fit almost right down into the hole that we've got there. So what I'm going to do, I've got obviously enough wire on all of these, and plus the wire here. I'm going to pull these three nav lights and put these in instead, and then I'm going to light block over them with the black paint, and then I'm going to add another set here for the nav lights on the side coming up, and I'm sure that there's going to be more than enough light through there. Obviously, yep, I can already see that there's more than enough light coming up through that piece, especially once I get it taped down and in place. Oh yeah, that looks nice. So we're going to replace just the three, and what I was hoping to do, and it didn't work out, what I was hoping to do is to use that LED, and see if I've got a larger one here, probably, yeah I do. What I was hoping to do was use the light from the sides, you know, this is laying in there on its side, use the light coming out of the top and out of the bottom, and then light block around it with black paint, and it just wasn't going to work out that way. So I was having all these light leaks and bleeds from one spot to the other. So we're going to pull those three, shouldn't take long, we're going to pull those three wires. Once they're pulled, I'll put new ones in, and then I'm going to add here, I am going to add a big LED, and I'm going to try to glue it right in there. I might have to create like a some kind of maybe just a bridge across here with styrene to poke that into, and that would light up my bridge much nicer, my bridge and BC deck much better than what they are right now. So what I'm thinking is just taking a straight piece of styrene and just gluing it across like that, and then sticking one of these LEDs through it so that I've got lots of penetration down up towards the top of the hull, and it shouldn't block too much here on the inside if I just run a piece of styrene across there. And in essence, I have so much light in this with all of this down here, I just have to do this one and then the 3 nav lights and the anti-collision light, and that'll be done. And then what I'll do is the wires that are going down into the hull, I'll tie those together, and I'll show you how I do that when it comes time to tighten that up. So essentially what I typically do is lay this hull here like this, and then connect, here's the 2 wires going down into the hull, connect the 2 together, and then splice them up here, and then still run one set down for all of the lights and another one for that strobe that's going to go in the back there. So stay with me. It's going to be a little bit of a bumpy ride as always, but excited about the progress here, and we will be back with you in update number 3. But for now, thank you for tuning in and watching this update number 2. Thank you for subscribing and liking and sharing this video. Hit that bell so that when the new ones come up, you're ready to go, and go enjoy building a model. Thank you.